every knowledge about leadership, every practice of leadership, understanding of leadership, praxis of leadership bears cultural imprints. Leadership is constructed. Leadership is a cultural contingent. Leadership is contextual. Leadership cannot be divorced from the cultural context within which it occurs. This thing bears Western cultural imprints. And tell me this is a Western way of living, and that's fine. But don't tell me this is the way.
This is the leadership.
The leadership.
The leadership.
That's where the problem is.
Vanessa Iwowo, fellow here at the Department of Management, and you work on critical management theory. And your particular interest is Africa.
So you are 2024 the most influential thinker.
Culture is the way we do things, the way we live around here, the way indigenous people who are indigenous to a place have existed for centuries, how they think, how they live, how they behave, how they organize, how they interact, what they pass on to future generations, how they have developed. This is the culture that is indigenous to a place. And any knowledge of leadership that they have gained would also bear the contextual, the cultural footprint of that context.
The way you see something is a way of not seeing. What's that means in the organization?
My understanding of leadership within this context would possibly, most likely, differ from your understanding of leadership within that context.
Where's the voice for Africa and China and East side? Where's the wisdom for Confucius and Taoism leadership?
And you say it's mainstream. So what is mainstream and what is non-mainstream? Who gets to label it? Because if that is the case, what are we developing when we say we're doing leadership development? Whose understanding of leadership then are we bringing to?
There's lots of similarity between African
Lots of
culture with the Chinese culture.
We only see in parts. So seeing a thing is a way of not seeing the other side of the thing. So I'm looking at you, I see your face, I can't see your back.
You don't know the story
I don't know the
me.
story behind you. So
you can't judging me.
I can't judge you because
I'm only Chinese.
I can't.
And you're Africa. And two ladies that talk about leadership.
But we're both women. For me, I need to acknowledge that. Because then you are inferior, you are totalizing knowledges into that Western thing. I teach leaders to find their competitive edge, to sharpen their competitive edge, and to stick with what works until it stops working. And before it stops working, we're looking forward to groundbreaking moves that keep us at the competitive edge. So that's what I bring to business.
Welcome Jojo's Cross Border. Today we have a Professor Vanessa Iwowo. 2024, the most influential thinker in HR management. Also a professor in leadership and organizational psychology at Birkbeck and LSE. Thank you so much for coming to our show today. We're going to directly ask the questions now. From academic point of view, what that means in leadership? You see something and also a way of not seeing. So what is the leadership?
Okay. I will give due credit to where originally that thought I think comes from Amanda Sinclair, who's written it as a professor in I think in Australia, who's written extensively about leadership, and so it struck me because seeing as a way of not seeing, do we say? It struck me because it was profound in the sense that we can be looking at a thing and not seeing the thing. And I usually use this analogy from an African village to explain this. Where I come from originally, or where my parents come from, we have, in the villages, we have festivals.
Yes.
And one of the high points of the village festival is the masquerade coming out to dance.
Yes.
And everyone gathers to watch the masquerade dance. They're usually colorful, bright clothes and dressing and dancing and mysterious. And everyone, even the children, especially the children, gather to watch the masquerade dance. And so it is said, it's a proverb, that one doesn't watch a masquerade dance from one place. But you hobnob from place to place to get a full spectrum view of the beautiful dance of the masquerade. So you watch the masquerade here, but you need to see the back as well. So you have to go over there. So you find children just going round and round, hopping, just to get a full view of the masquerade dance. So when we bring that to the analogy of seeing as a way of not seeing, if I'm watching the masquerade from this place, I am not getting a full view of the dance at the back.
You only see
So
part
I'm
of it
only
each
seeing
time.
parts of it. Exactly. That brings me to my point. The point I always make when I say that is that we always see, but only in part. From a particular position, you can only see in part. And while that is not the big deal, I think the big deal here is acknowledging that where I see from, I only see in part. And that's what people struggle with. We only see in part. So seeing a thing is a way of not seeing the other side of the thing. So I'm looking at you, I see your face, I can't see your back.
You don't know the
I
story
don't know
behind
the
me.
story behind you. So
You can't judging me.
I can't judge you because
I'm only Chinese.
I can
and you're Africa. And two ladies that talk about leadership.
But we're both women.
Yes.
You see, and then you have a story that I don't know.
No.
Nana, you're wearing a beautiful red shirt and a black blazer, and I'm wondering, why the red? And that's nice, but maybe is there a story behind the red?
Yes.
Why the compo? You're wearing blue jeans. That's beautiful. Yeah. What was in your head this morning when you put all that together? Was it just to get out the door quickly, or are you coordinating something? What I'm trying to say is that, like the good old saying, you don't judge a book by its cover. It's a way of saying that, but it's slightly different way. You can't. Seeing you is a way of not seeing you. I have to acknowledge that there are my limitations to seeing you as I look at you now frontally. I have limitations as far as touching your story, as touching the depth of who you are, touching behind you. But I only see from this place. And for me, I need to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
This is what many people it's a fact that most people gloss over. We talk about thinking outside the box. Oh, think outside the box, think outside the box. But what about where you're standing from? Do you acknowledge that you have just a limited view?
Right. So by listening to you acknowledge about me so far, and make me feel like I'm exist, make feel like I have an actual value that provoked your thinking, the story, and then think about who I am. So this acknowledge make me feel valued.
Yes.
So now talk about leadership then.
Okay.
So the way you see something is a way of not seeing. What's that means in the organization?
We see from a point of view, like I said, okay. I'll take you back to the philosophy behind leadership thinking. I mean, as many people who've gone through a degree, master's, first degree would have done something called a research project or dissertation.
I just did it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then you would have gone on a course called research methods.
Yes.
Didn't you? And in research methods, you would have learned about ontology and epistemology. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yes, I know.
I didn't mean to traumatize you.
But no, it's not. But it's what the earth. That's the longest spelling vocabulary for me. It's been. I can't even pronounce that.
Simply put, this is just, I give you a crash course.
Hospitality and whatever.
Ontology simply means how we know the world.
Yes.
And epistemology is simply refers to what we say is truth. And this is as far as the social sciences. I'm not talking about the natural sciences like gravity, because gravity is gravity. If you went up, you fall down.
Yeah.
But as far as people, the knowledge of and study of people and their relationships, social relationships, society, when we say ontology, how we know the world. This applies across board. I'm speaking now about social sciences. Epistemology, what we say is truth. So what that means is that because there are research traditions, we know from the natural sciences that knowledge is not entirely knowable, is generalizable. So whatever you get at research, about something, you can generalize. So until it meets the criteria of generalizability, then it's not knowledge. That's as far as the natural sciences and objectivism, whatever it goes, as far as that goes.
I'm lost.
I'll stop. But when we come to leadership and people, there is the argument that, with research traditions, that knowledge about people is not measurable, generalizable, and absolute, because you can't codify human behavior. People are people, and their behavior cannot always be entirely codified. So we have another point of view, another ontology, another epistemology that says, look, the world the social world as we know it is not out there. It's in here. It's in our interactions. We construct it. We build it through understanding. And therefore, it cannot be generalizable because, spaces differ across board. What we're constructing here might be different from the world that's being constructed there. And this is what you must have come across that's called constructivism, isn't it?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it's a socialized, right?
Yeah,
the social norm?
Sorry?
Is that defined by the social norm?
Yeah, by the social interactions.
Social interaction.
Dynamics. So when we bring that to leadership, if you stay with me, this idea of seeing as a way of not seeing begins to really hold ground. If we say that and this is where my PhD thesis started. If we say that the world is not out there as far as social things are concerned, social interaction, social phenomenon is concerned, if we say the world is not out there, but it's in here, then knowledge is constructed, like you tell us. So leadership knowledge too would be constructed, because my understanding of leadership within this context would possibly, most likely, differ from your understanding of leadership within that context. And that for me was a problem, because if that is the case, what are we developing when we say we're doing leadership development? Whose understanding of leadership then are we bringing to the mainstream, or we're going
to talk about that, because the mainstream, it is the mainstream.
Yeah.
Is that the only stream?
Do you see what I mean? So my question then was, okay, we see from a point of view, whose window are we all looking at the world from?
At the moment, the leadership, I would say that is about Western society.
Exactly.
When I talk about Western society, mainly like
Anglo-American.
Anglo-American
Exactly.
And UK, Holland, and then German.
Yeah.
Where's the voice for Africa and China and East side?
This is it.
Where's the wisdom for Confucius and Taoism leadership?
And you say it's mainstream. So what is mainstream and what is non-mainstream? Who gets to label it? By what power and authority do you call this main? It's just like medicine.
Yeah.
You say this is mainstream medicine and the rest are alternative medicine.
Yeah.
Who called what mainstream and who decided
has the right?
what was? This is it. So from where does the right come? And that's where we get into post-colonial discourse.
Yes. Okay. So it's a completely construct, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, there's this. We know, and we know that we, as social scientists, as organizational scholars, I have argued for over nearly 2 decades, and joining my voices to all the rest. There's a knowledge hegemony. Yeah. There's a knowledge, the mainstream knowledge hegemony, which is really a Western knowledge hegemony.
Exactly.
That is imposed on the rest of us, and there's the requirement for the rest of the world to conform to that standard. But the question is, the same Western academy has told us about epistemology and ontology. The same Western academy has said to us, okay, knowledge is not out there, it's in here, it's constructed. Yes, so I argue, if knowledge is constructed within spaces, there are also forces that act on spaces that are cultural forces. Yes. So they shape the knowledge from space to space, which means the knowledge shaped in that space is different from the knowledge shaped in this space.
Yeah.
How does your practice account for that?
Yes.
Because you say to us, this is leadership, take it. And I say, no, you told me that we see from the point of view. You told me that we're looking at things from a window. Now, whose window are you offering? From what perspective? From what window does this perspective you call mainstream come? So I have every right to then view what you're bringing with suspicion.
Yeah. So this is from academic point of view, like you argue, like also your thesis is getting tell us your awards, and then I can't remember exactly, loads of awards for the best one for the whole award system, right?
I'll tell you, when I first started the PhD, I was quite new to this thing, green. And I was raising all these politically problematic perspectives. And I didn't have the scholarly sophistication to argue my points. I was young, I was green. So I got knocked down easily. But my supervisor was very good, bless him. He said to me, I know you have something to say. You have something to say. So he kept me going. Scott Taylor, Birmingham, professor now, he was lovely. He said, you have something to say. Keep going, And I didn't have the sophistication, the rhetoric or the gravitas to be able to put forward these very strong arguments, because I was saying, okay, if this is the point, what power, like you've asked rightly, what authority is giving you, what's giving you the power to name this thing for us? And I went all the way down, and for the first time, I began to bring post-colonial theory into leadership discourse. A lot of the time, post-colonial theory had been used in the Department of English and others. I'm talking almost 2 decades ago. So my work brought that debate into leadership discourse. I'm saying, look, colonialism didn't just strip colonized peoples of their resources. It also stripped them ideologically. And I'm not the one who made that argument. That argument is already established in literature, but I brought it into leadership. Right. If that's the case, then what you're telling me is that my idea or understanding of leadership is rubbish. Your idea is what I should all follow. And the only way you could have done that was to inferiorize my own knowledge. How did you do it? By coming to tell me that I needed to be civilized. That's why. You said to me I was uncivilized. You said to me I was barbaric. You said we were primitive so that you could then come on to civilize us and to civilize my knowledges. And that's how come today, everything I know about leadership is coming from Harvard, it's coming from Columbia University, it's coming from LSE, and all of that. I mean, no disrespect, but I'm sure you know where I'm going. So this is where that discourse started. And so by the time I was finishing the PhD, of course, 4 years in, I had more understanding of what I was doing, more skills
and confidence,
the
voice,
and more gravitas to put my I was almost kicked off the PhD a few times,
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, dark side.
Because I just didn't. I was saying this big thing, and I had no skills to say this politically problematic thing. So it was easy to shoot me down. But thank God for that supervisor, And I prayed a lot. I remember those days. It was, thank God for that. Yeah. Anyway, at the end of the PhD, that PhD won the US Academy of Management Award for Best Dissertation Prize. And it also went on another paper I published a few years online, won the Best Critical Management Studies prize. So that it did pull in quite a few awards. So it was nice to see that. Scott was right. I had something to say. I did have something to say.
But it's so good. So you show your perseverance, even you voice have been putting away, and then but you still thanks for the supervisor with your as a team together. So we need to voice this out, right?
Yes.
So now let me ask another question. We talk about still going back to seeing the way not seeing.
Yeah.
So you, in your leadership theory, your research, so there's a 3C, and the last C is about the cross-cultural contingents.
Yeah.
So leadership is
a cultural contingent.
Yeah. Can you explain more about this, to our audience who is in the real business situation?
Okay. First of all, you come into this business. Okay. Before we locate it within the case, leadership is, from going by all I've said now, with all of the ontology, epistemology, all of that, we see that leadership is constructed. Our understanding of leadership is constructed in and through our interactions. It's what you did within that place. I can say, that was good leadership. That's my understanding. So my understanding of leadership is constructed. We construct that meaning. So leadership, if it's constructed, it also means that it is, what's the second word now? There were 3 C's. Leadership is constructed. Leadership is, I can't remember the second one now.
The second one, I can't remember either. But anyway.
And then we come to the fact that leadership is a cultural contingent, because we said if leadership is constructed, it's constructed within a space of interaction. And there are forces that shape every social space. There are cultural forces that shape every space. For instance, the way people live, the way they interact, the way they eat, the way they dance, the way they mark time, e.g. African time. We're going
to go back again. Yeah, go back to that.
The way they do things, the way things are around here. So these are forces that shape social interaction within a space. So if anything, any knowledge is constructed within that space, the cultural forces that shape that space have a lot to do with how that knowledge is shaped. So my argument was that leadership was, because it was constructed within that, yes, I find it. The first one is leadership is contextual.
Context-based, yes, of course.
Yes, context. So leadership is constructed, our knowledge of leadership is constructed within a context.
Yeah.
And that context itself is shaped by cultural forces.
Yes.
And if that's the case, leadership cannot be divorced from the cultural context within which it occurs.
Can I pause you a little bit? Can you explain what is a culture for our audience?
Culture is the way we do things, the way we live around here, the way indigenous people who are indigenous to a place have existed for centuries, how they think, how they live, how they behave, how they organize, how they interact, what they pass on to future generations, how they have developed. This is the culture that is indigenous to a place. And any knowledge of leadership that they have gained would also bear the contextual, the cultural footprints of that context.
Exactly. Yeah.
E.g. leadership.
Yeah. So
E.g. Confucius.
Yeah. Exactly. And Taoism.
And Taoism, yes. Tells him. Yes. So these are the knowledges that have been shaped in that context.
Right. Yeah.
So it means they are central to their ways of being. Now you come into that space with a leadership development program from where? Princeton or Harvard? Hey, how do you sell that? What do you, how do you negotiate that space with what you've just brought in? And how do you mark failure to adapt? You see?
Yeah.
So when I say leadership is a cultural contingent, I mean that every knowledge about leadership bears cultural markers. Every knowledge about leadership, every practice of leadership, understanding of leadership, praxis of leadership bears cultural imprints. To use Prasad's term, cultural imprints that come with it.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
The only thing is that we must acknowledge, this is again the problem, you must acknowledge that this thing bears Western cultural imprints.
Yeah.
And tell me this is a Western way of leading, and that's fine. But don't tell me this is the way.
This is the leadership.
The leadership.
The leadership.
That's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Because then you are inferior, you are totalizing knowledges into that Western thing. When it's really, so what we call mainstream is really a narrowly contextual knowledge. It's a narrowly defined, narrowly shaped contextual knowledge. That's what you bring to the center and say, hey, everybody, this is leadership. Of course it's not. That's not that. It is for you, but hey, I have another definition.
So, I mean, in the real business life, okay, so let's say globalization, like we did, you are a business consultant. You work with the multinational organizations, right?
Yes.
You can see there's a clearly, from your perspective, the easy solve the problem is that the leader didn't acknowledge like the staff reaction for certain things because it's coming from the cultural awareness.
Yes.
And then they raise up an issue. My gosh, I mean, this is we're gonna shut down your business because you don't listen to us, or you make a fuss for these tiny things which is not important for the Western, like a boardroom. Give us an example, like let's say cultural parts, like from Africa point of view.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the word, you've heard the word expatriate, have you?
Yeah. It's people living outside of the country.
People living outside of the country.
And wandering around and feel superior, maybe?
Yes, I like you very much, thank you. Yes, that's it. Run around and feel so, because when for instance Africans or the Chinese come here, they're called immigrants. Yeah. But when the West go out to China or to Africa, they're called expatriates. So yeah, I'm sorry I had to say that. So
that's why I say superior.
Superior, running around superior. So now imagine someone who's come from the head office to the office, the regional office in Lagos, Nigeria, and is trying to come and improve. He's been tasked with improving performance, whatever they define that to be, and then comes to the conclusion that leadership needs to be upgraded within this Lagos office, and then decides to fly in some experts from LSE or from Harvard to come and train the local staff. And so you come in and begin to say things like, okay, let's look at what the Western canon says. What does mainstream leadership say? Leadership should be assertive. If you can help me if you remember.
Yeah.
A leader should be strong, should be assertive,
Yeah.
quick decision making. A leader should be this, a leader should be that.
And then the look as well. The leader
The
should
leader
be looks like a
white, male, strong, charismatic,
Yeah.
and all of that.
autocratic as well.
Autocratic,
Yeah.
Now, you come into that space where, first of all, we don't do individual. We do Ubuntu.
What's that mean?
I explained that.
Okay.
Ubuntu is a word from the southern part of Africa. It's not from Lagos, Nigeria. It's not from the west, but it kind of says the same thing all across. Ubuntu really, it simply means it's an African traditional philosophy. It was developed in ancient times, in times where there was a lot of deprivation and scarcity of resources. So people had to band together to survive. So it was either stick together or die.
Tribe.
That's it. So we could stick together. So in that time, a lot of these dynamics developed where I am here because the community exists. So one becomes indivisible from the community. And so that is what is practiced in a lot of African societies. The Chinese, you have
Same thing,
you have collectivism.
collectivism.
That's right. Africans take it a step further and call it community. So you could have one person, 5 mothers. My mother, biological mother, my auntie, my mother, my auntie's sister, my mother, my husband's mother, my mother. So I have 5 mothers. And so now you come from the US to raise the barrier leadership, and then you say you come to Johannesburg or Pretoria, wherever it is in Africa, and I come to you and say, my mother died. I have to go home for her funeral. Okay, take some time off. And then in 2 years I come and say, my mother died. Oh, your mother died? Well, your mother died 2 years ago. And I come, okay. And 3 years or 5 years, I say, my mother died. I go, these Africans are bloody liars.
So they
Every day
they
their
label
mother
you
dies.
liars.
Yeah. Their mothers seem to die every day. What you don't understand is that within the family, the clan, the fundamental unit of identity of the African is in his tribe and the clan. So all the older women are mothers. And every member of the family, because of that, Ubuntu has a part to play in the morning when one passes away. So they need to be able to play their part, especially depending on their level of seniority in the family. And so he comes and says, my mother died. My mother, and you go, oh, you're a bloody liar. But that's the structure. His mother died. 3 years ago, it was his auntie, his mother's elder sister, who is also his mother.
It's the mother, yeah.
Do you see that? So now, if you don't understand this,
it's a liar.
yeah,
We label you a liar.
exactly, and then he's going to be getting a PIP in a few, because you've had enough of all these lies. What do you mean your mother died? The right approach should be, oh, you seem to have many mothers. Explain that to me. And he goes, okay, and then he begins to tell you this is what. Okay, all right then. So which is your biological mother? Okay, that one. Okay, what happens? We gave you 2 weeks for your biological mother. Take a few days.
Yeah.
Don't say, oh, the old bloody Africans tell lies.
Yeah.
Because you don't understand. So it's acknowledging that there's something here I don't understand.
Yeah, and then we ask her,
And then
my confusion is you seem to so many
yes,
mothers.
Explain
to
this
me.
But is that
Invitation, come on.
It is that pejorative view that you have to be lying. You only have one mother. We all have one mother. What are you talking about?
That's in his mind or her mind.
This is the problem.
Oh, okay.
Because in your culture, there's only one mother. In their culture, there's up to 10 mothers.
Yeah.
And it's they were born into it. They didn't create it. That's it. Do you see what I mean? So it's learning to, okay, what does this mean for business? Do you get to get time off every time? No, it's negotiating these complexities, understanding that, look, this is the space within which these people operate. How we go back to the drawing board. How do we navigate this cultural complexity?
Yeah.
And this is the question that Western nations are not asking when they come to do business in places like Africa, in China, for instance. Look at the issue of operating. The Chinese develop deep roots. You don't just relocate people.
No. Yeah, the relocation.
You don't just move people. Here, I can pack my bag and go to Birmingham. I can even go to Dubai.
That's the culture. Yeah. So for Chinese moving from a relocation from city one to move to other city is not just as simple as Western society see that's like I give you a goods package and then so move your kids and stuff and go. You should be happy. But actually it means like a roots. It means like around the families. It also means like the social security system. system.
Yes.
It's all like it belongs to one city. That's the one when the company experienced the transformational change. So they're using the same principle, want to apply for different offices. So you get a different kickback, you have different reactions.
Resistance, of course.
Resistance. And then people
that's
think
where
like, you've been difficult to
yeah,
me.
yeah, that's where change resistance and then change fatigue comes in. I'm also trained as a change management consultant, transformational consultant. So and that's where resistance, I mean, the research tells us that middle managers are most resistant to change. So that's where the change resistance comes from, and then eventually change fatigue. The organization begins to experience change fatigue, and people say, transformation.
The natural part of resistance, that's understandable, but this tangible part, the resistance, you can avoid that if you can spend a tiny bit of time, understand the culture there.
That's right. Just on acknowledge. It begins with the big A, acknowledging that seeing is a way of not seeing.
Yeah.
See, I see, but from a point of view. What is it I'm not seeing?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to me?
Yes, invitation.
That's it.
And then which part of that I haven't seen it?
Exactly. But you see,
That's
and it brings me back to the colonial argument. The colonial masters were always right. They understood everything and they had no limitations. This is where that's coming from. Every other thing had to be brought up to standard. Do you see? And that standard is our standard.
Yeah, it needs to be global, like an international
and
standard.
that's another word that I'm very suspicious of. Global. What does it mean to be global? Do you mean Western?
No, global means like a international.
It should
every part of it.
It should be. Yeah. But when people talk about, e.g., global leadership development, they bring another package from New York.
Oh yeah, the big projects you're talking about. That's it. The majority is the Western society. We call it global. Yeah, that's global. It's not what I mean. Global.
I know, of course.
Yeah, but we need to
I wrote a book with some of my colleagues about 10 years ago, and we called it. We problematized the term global leadership. It was a contribution of many of us, and the title of that book is Worldly Leadership: Alternative Wisdoms for a Complex World.
Say that again.
Worldly leadership.
Yeah.
Alternative wisdoms for a complex world. I contributed to that book. Well, it was edited, I think it was by Sharon Turnbull. I can't remember. There were two editors, but you'll find my paper. I think my paper is chapter 5, The Internationalization of Leadership Development. One of the earliest papers I wrote. But
yeah, do let us know that. Can you also quickly run through with us let's talk about academic parts like a culture, okay? So still we talk a little bit parts about my mother's, and then the HR management point of view, and then so I have a story. When you say that's Africa time, can you explain to us about the Africa time? I know Africa is huge, like a north. I mean, you tell me Africa time. What that means for the HR peoples?
I see.
Okay. Not the guest point of view. I know what happened for the guest point of view.
For HR. Okay, let's begin this way. The concept of African time. So there's time.
It's time, which is also one part of a culture part.
So there's time. This just comes down to conceptualization of time. We have the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, the Western way of counting time. Yeah. And then, so if it's 1 o'clock, it's 1 o'clock. Many African societies did not count time that way. We had, for instance, I'll give you the example of the Igbo-speaking people of southeastern Nigeria. We have the market days. Time is organized around market days. I won't explain everything. I'll just call them. Afo is 1 day. Eke, Ori. I can't remember the fourth one. 4 market days. These 4 market days run 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how they understand time. And then they have sunrise, and that is when the cock crows. You know when the cock crows? That's sunrise.
Okay, my sound is different from yours.
Okay. Afternoon is when the sun is highest. Evening, sunset. So all these calibrations between sunrise and when the sun is highest, e.g. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's not indigenous to African society. So when you say, I'll be there at 5 o'clock on the dots, what do you mean? Do you mean just before sunset? Or do you mean after sunset? Which is broad, because when does the sun begin to set? From about 6. isn't it? Or 5 or 10, 20 minutes to 6 if we go by our own Western time. And so when you say see you at sunset, it can mean for me as an African anything from 5:30 to 7:30. You see it now. So when you go 6 o'clock, we don't count time like that. So when you say sunset or as the sun begins to set, everyone knows that's when people come back from the farm. So people come back from the farm, they drop their stuff, and they come to the village square. So I could come back from the farm a little while, just a little while after you. In our own Western calibration, it will be okay. Maybe 20 minutes after you got back, I come back, I put my stuff. As long as at the end of the day, before it gets dark, we're all there. So we have our calibration. So the calibrations of time are very broad. It's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
As against this minute to minute, second to second thing we do here in the West.
Yeah.
So the concept of African time came out of that.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you say 4 o'clock, your party is 4 o'clock. All right, we get it. We are learning. We understand the clock. But for us, 4 o'clock means anything from 4 o'clock to 6:30.
All right.
Is that broad? Because they're all around the same sunset, beginning of sunset to sunset time.
In that range.
Within that range. Good. It's a range of time. So this narrow calibrations are for the African, a range of time.
Yeah.
Another way of looking at it is January 2nd, 1976. When is your birthday? You ask someone from the West. When is your birthday? Oh, I'm January 2nd, 1976. That's my birthday. Oh, really? Okay. Oh, so the date is the important thing. January 2nd, 1976. That's the date. That is your birthday. For the African, is when were you born? That's the important thing. That's the subject.
So it means the subject is
You. When were you born?
I was born.
I was born on January 2nd, 1976. So the subject is not.
It's the I.
Is you. You when you were
It's
born.
you.
You.
I'm asking about
Yeah.
you.
When were you born? So January 2nd, 1976 is my birthday, or is the date I was born for the West, but for the average African. And I'm saying this, and I'll come to culture across Africa is not necessarily homogeneous, but there are elements of shared cultural symbolism which we're unpacking now. So for the West, it's January 2nd, 1976. That's your birthday. That's when you were born.
Focus on factual.
Yes. So
Date.
For the African is
I born.
you.
Yeah, I was born.
Oh, when you were born, January 2nd, 1976. You were born on that day.
Okay.
So it's you can say it as I was born on January 2nd, 1976. Or you could say January 2nd, 1976 when you were born. Which is subject? Which is the focus? For one is the date, for the other is a person.
So then with this concept of an interview, let's say a Western HR person interview African applications, right? So what is the right way to ask the questions then for this birthday point of view, like to acknowledge their knowledge about African culture?
Okay, now that's a very micro level practice, because I don't think it gets as fine as that. I think when you just come into the interview, okay, confirm your date of birth already. What's your date of birth? That's a year. My date of birth X. Okay, date of birth. So if an HR person was going to flip it, okay, I see. Okay, you were born in 1976. Oh, you were born January 2nd. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Okay. Oh, a lot has changed since then.
Yeah. So basically,
the acknowledgement of the person.
Subject changed.
Subject change.
Yeah.
One subject is date, the other subject is person.
Okay. Yeah.
And for many African communities, consciousness revolves a lot around the person.
Yeah.
Because from person to community, community to person. So that person, community, so everything, even spirituality revolves around the person. They have what we call the concept of the chi in Igbo. The chi. The chi, C-H-I.
Oh,
chi.
okay.
It is the concept of the person's spirit. Where there's something they say, onye kwe, share kwe. What does that mean? When a person says something, their spirit also agrees. So even the spiritual is constructed around the person. So for everybody, every person has a spirit. And that spirit is the unseen dimension of the person, but that's what makes the person the person. So you find conversations where someone says, I do not want to offend my chi. I don't want to offend my spirit. And for that reason, I will treat you kindly. Do you see?
I
Conversations
see.
like that.
Yeah.
I do not want to offend my spirit. So for that reason, I will not revenge. Then when we come all the way to the east, we have the concept of karma. Sowing and reaping. You see what I mean? You sow, whatever you do, it's coming back. You know, all of these things are the differences in cultural ways of being. And I think life will be easier and better if we all begin to acknowledge the differences and respect them. So bringing it back to business, an HR person would do well. A leadership a director of strategy director, whatever it is you are, from one end of the world to the other, would do well to acknowledge that that's the way things are done around here.
Yes.
I'll give you another story. I went to South Africa once. I went for a conference. I was at the London School of Economics full-time at the time before I came to Birkbeck. So I went for this conference in South Africa, and we're going to see, part of the itinerary was we're going into a place that used to be known for crime but had done a good job of clearing out the crime. So we're going to visit the police chief. And so all of us, a delegation of researchers from all over the world. I came from Britain because I came from LSE. No, I didn't come from Africa, so I was coming as someone who's come from Britain. The others came from America, some from Nigeria, but this was taking place in Africa, South Africa. So, and there was this guy, a white South African man. He had this shiny gift. He was holding a beautiful big gift, and I said, "What's that for?" And he goes, "It's for the police." I'm like, "For the police? You're taking the gift to the police?" And he looked at me, and he said to me, I felt very lectured. It was nice. He said to me, "In African culture, when we go to visit a dignitary, we go with a gift. When we go to say hello." Now, it was just a visit, but it was the police. And my mind went, okay, where I just traveled from, it will be inducement or bribery. What are you giving a policeman a gift for?
Yeah. So I understand that. So that's related to Chinese as well. So it's hard to define which is it's a gift. Basically, what he's saying is I'm not taking anything for free. I also come with something to return. But in factual, superficial point of view, you're giving some expensive gift to policemen, 100% bribery.
Exactly.
I'm not saying 100%.
Even
but,
as an academic, we cannot take expensive gifts from our students. I once had, the Chinese students have been some of my best students. I remember when I was at LSE, one of my students was so happy at the end of the term. She appreciated my work so much, and she brought me a beautiful, expensive scarf to say thank you.
Yeah.
Being an African, I understood, I understood exactly where she was coming from.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a gift; it was her heart.
It's a heart. It's something to return.
Expressing to me, saying thank you.
Yeah.
And I accepted the gift wholeheartedly. I understood where she was coming from, because within that gift was she saw me. I mean, I'm older, so she's a student. I'm the lecturer, so she brought. There was respect in that gift. There was appreciation in that gift. There was honor in that gift.
Yeah.
And so I could see all those three layers.
Yes, three. Yeah, I always advise same things like this is. I always I always advise my clients that when you try to make a first visit to China office, just bring something small gifts.
Okay.
And then also not just a box of chocolate. If you can spend an extra 5 minutes, just go for linking whatever to know this person's interesting, and then bring something special and just tiny bits that shows like you care. You also subjective, like that's for you.
Yes, that's for you.
Yeah, that's make a huge difference. Back to your interview questions. I'm asking about the HR person because you're the HR expert now. But in business, if I am the board like a CEO and I will sign an important deal with the African leaders, right? So changing, instead of talking about the numbers, negotiation, this deal has to be done billions, but talk about you, subject, taking care of you, your benefits, your team's benefits, then that is a good way to start with, right?
Yes.
And then the numbers will come naturally. Is that right?
First, yes, of course. I mean, expect that if you're going to be signing those deals, I mean, they have the pop culture, isn't it? Here in Africa, expect that there might be a few visits in between. You might visit and then somebody's wife gets to cook for you, your delegation, and host you to dinner, That's part of the package. It's
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
but it's the way things are done. Or you are going to go out for dinner, but the money bit comes after the relationship bit. The relationship is so crucial. It's so crucial. It's so important because it's not just about the money, it's who it is we are doing business with.
Yeah.
We have something we say back in Nigeria. I need to be sure that this person isn't about to sell me and give me a receipt. For me. So it's about because if you don't pay attention, you could become they're selling you,
getting the
and
invoice,
give you some change. So the whole idea. So it's about. I digress, but it's about relationship. That getting to build a relationship, trust for continuity, because it's not just a deal. For the African, it's never just a deal.
Yeah.
It's relationship. And before long, he or she will start to say, that's my brother from another mother. You see it now. Oh,
Yeah.
my Chinese brother is coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you mean you have a brother from China? Yes, of course.
Another mother.
I've known him for 10 years.
Yeah.
He's my brother. Do you see? That dimension eventually, because that's just the cost of relationship in many African societies. It is about community. I am because we are. So before long, it becomes not just my business partner. He's also my brother. And before long, oh, you want to stay in the hotel? Why you want to stay in the hotel? My house, I have many rooms. Come.
Yeah.
So it's a progression. If it's sustained, it will eventually get there. And before long, the children start to grow together. And then, oh, you have a good university in China. My son is coming to China.
Yeah.
And then you become the guardian. These things, they grow organically. So as somebody who's coming to sign that kind of deal, expect the relationship as part of the package that you would have to service.
Yeah, actually, in the deal point perspective, I think you play with if you understanding more about the culture, understanding more about what they taking care of, build up relationship.
That's right.
That's gonna accelerate your business
That's why
development.
the Chinese have been so successful in Africa. They understand.
I mean, by saying there's lots of similarity between
Exactly.
African
Lots of
culture
signages,
with the
yeah,
Chinese
lots.
culture,
lot
and then
of
that's
signages.
also why there's a quite challenge for Western businessmen
Yeah.
to navigate the Chinese business and the Africa business. That's why they need us, right?
Yes. I was reading the papers the other day. I think the Tanzanian Prime Minister had been told not to do business with. Was worried. Washington is worried about the Tanzania's relationship with China, and we get to take our own foreign policies.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's why you miss it too much, right? So last questions, okay. You sounds very academic for me for the interview now, but I know you are business consultants.
Of course, yeah. So what do you want to know about?
What do I need to
business?
know? Yeah, so in business, you utilize your academic research and then woven in to tell us what's special to be a consultant with have a strong academic knowledge.
Strategy. My strength is strategy. Yeah.
Well,
Because
what is that?
business strategy, market, whatever it is, organizational strategy, business strategy, people strategy, marketing strategy, whatever I do. I'm not a marketer. I didn't do marketing, but strategy is strategy. So one thing the academic experience does for you is the sophisticated level of thinking that brings
Critical.
the critical thinking, the ability
Dimensions.
to ask the questions that no one is asking, the ability to see the things that no one is seeing, and also the ability to assess the threats and opportunities that no one else can see. So this is what I bring into the business space. So I ask questions that people haven't thought of. I ask, for instance, when it comes to market strategy, we're evaluating your competition, who's got things like, I'm going to be asking questions like, who's got the first mover advantage? What the first mover is, who got in the market first, and what is it that buys and maintains and sustains loyalty, customer loyalty? What's the offering? What can be? No one is asking you to reinvent the wheel, but how can we put a spin on what is here now?
Wow! So deep dive in.
Deep dive strategy. That's what I bring to business.
So not just the HR perspective.
Not just strategy. HR, even HR strategy. What is your workforce strategy? In the next 5 years, what do you want your workforce to look like? What you do today it's like what you do today would reflect down the road 5 years. Exactly what kind of workforce do you want to see in 5 years? It begins with your recruitment strategy today.
Wow!
Do you want an aging workforce in 5 years, or do you want a young workforce, or do you want a nice mix? How do you want to deal with age? For instance, in Africa, in many parts of the world, you have ageism. In Africa, many parts of Africa, we don't have that because a premium is put on age in African culture. The older you are, the wiser you are thought to be. So if you're a 32-year-old and you come to an interview for, say, executive something, or director, with guys who are in their 50s, you're not likely to get the job. Not because you're not smart, but there's a premium put on age and experience. It is thought that those guys have seen more, or the older women have more experience, and so if you all have same credentials, they're likely to get the job because within that space there's a premium put on age. Now come to the West, you won't even get a job at 50. Ageism. 55, you start the younger ones.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
And even when you come to the workspace within the UK, a lot of the complaints I've heard from Africans is that, oh, that little boy, he's just, how old is he? 26. When did he leave school? And I'm 50, in my 50s. He's talking to me now just because he's my manager. Now, in many parts of Africa, that won't happen because it is thought that as you grow older, you go wiser. So it's unlikely to have a situation where you have a team of people in their 40s and then you have a 26-year-old as the team leader. Unlikely. Very unlikely.
In Africa, yeah.
Very unlikely.
So by
because
all
there's a premium put on age.
Yeah, okay. So all of like you offer a strategy, it shows that you're a deep thinker.
That's
you're
it.
leading the team
That's right.
leaders to be
to be more critical, to be more incisive, and to be more innovative.
Got it.
Because that's what sustains business. Is the edge. Is that edge.
Aye.
Where do you find? So I teach leaders to find their competitive edge, to sharpen their competitive edge, and to stick with what works until it stops working. And before it stops working, we're looking forward to groundbreaking moves that keep us at the competitive edge. So that's what I bring to business.
Yes. You see, I mean, this is why I explained that you are 2024, the most influential thinker. Thank you so much, Professor Vanessa Iwowo.
Thank you for having me, Jojo. I appreciate it. Lovely. Thank you.